Hello there and welcome to this vlog of August 2022. This is going to be a relatively quick video, I think, though I have said that before, and then we get to 45 minutes, so we'll see what happens. Wasn't a video that I was planning on doing though, but we've had a lot of BattleTech news in regards to the next Kickstarter drop over the weekend from GenCon. So what I've done here is just kind of amalgamate all that conjecture, data, fact into a nice tidy Excel document that you can see here. This video does come with a warning though. There is a lot of conjecture here, and I'm sure that a lot of these decisions haven't actually been fully decided on just yet. So please do bear that in mind. If you are force building, take this with a pinch of salt. I don't want to see you waste your time because I've incorrectly farmed this data. It's up to you though, obviously, but I feel like as long as I give that warning beforehand, this will be more like an interesting video in regards like what we feel we're going to get, as opposed to like a hard fact video where you can like plan your entire next force on the data here. I'd be pretty careful if you're going to do that. Though I think if I had to put a figure on it, I'd say what I'm going to show here is probably between 80 and 90% correct. Some of it we actually do know is correct. Some of it is very on the conjecture side. So let's go ahead anyway and have a look at what we now know, or in some cases don't know. So the first thing I'm going to very quickly discuss is the Alpha Strike box, which Catalyst actually released 200 of these at GenCon. I believe they went very, very quickly. They were just allowing one per person. So, even with that, I heard it sold out on the Thursday. So very, very popular, obviously, as you would expect. I did see that Wolfnet Radio had done an unboxing of one. So we now know pretty much exactly what we're going to get in terms of the mech variants and all the kind of extra stuff in there. So obviously there's a rule book for Alpha Strike. You get cardboard buildings and little tree standees and things like that. So lots of interesting things going on there. I think that's a wonderful idea actually from Catalyst. Especially I noted with the cardboard cutouts of the buildings, you could literally just unfold them and make them flat again and put them all back in the box. Again, the guys from Wolfnet said it looked or felt really sturdy as well, and those guys play over a lot of terrain, so they know what sturdy feels like, if you're kind of trying to balance metal mechs on cardboard, so they seemed very happy with it, so that's a really good sign. In this, though, what I'm going to focus on here is the mechs and the different variants that we're going to get there, that we've now got confirmed. The reason I'm doing this, specifically on Alpha Strike, it's not really concerned with the next Kickstarter, obviously. This is a separate product that will be available over the next couple of months. But if you're like me and you're a bit of a, like a WYSIWYG perfectionist, then it's good to know what kind of variants you're going to get if you are force building. Just to clarify on that, I do fall into the perfectionist kind of bracket, which can be a bit tiresome for me and for others. But I'm not so bad with it where I've got to have the exact variant of a mech to play. I just think as long as it's sensible. So for instance, if you had a mech that had, say it was listed as having LRM-10s on the side torso and you had a variant with SRM-6s on the side torso, that's fine. You can see very clearly that there is a missile launcher there. Where I kind of get a little bit delicate with it though is if you had a mech that had, say, the same situation, but it was 2 PPCs instead of 2 LRM-10s. First of all, that grates on me as someone who likes is a bit of a completionist and likes that kind of perfect stuff going on. But there's actually a practical reason for it, and that's that I think it's a bit not disrespectful to your opponent, but I think it can confuse your opponent sometimes because they may be planning their tactical move on you having PPCs on that mech when actually there are SRM-6s there or whatever. And I think that can be a little bit cheeky. You've got to be careful with that. I mean, obviously you tell them beforehand what variants you're using. You could argue it's up for them to find it, to go and research that and see. But I just think WYSIWYG does have its place in wargaming for that reason, that it's just at a glance you can see what it is. I mean, I take it like to the extreme in some extents. Like if I'm using a jump capable mech, I really like paint and highlight the jump jets. So they all get painted in like brass color, and then I put like a really bright orange, like in the actual jet itself, to kind of just denote that it's a mech that can jump. There is another thing that they've done on this Kickstarter, on the mercenary units that are coming out, where you can get like detachable, I don't even know what you call it, like jump. I don't even know the name for it. Like like the steam and smoke that comes down from a jump jet or whatever, the trail, vapor trail of a jump jet. That's amazing how they've done that. It's like you can actually fit the mech to the, I'll just call it vapor trail, or you can like take that off and put the mech, just as usual. I think that's a good idea as well. If you kind of really were kind of, into things like looking like in dynamic poses, that's about as dynamic as it gets. I don't know if I'll be doing it for all the mechs that I get on the mercenary box sets, but for some of them I probably will, just for the novelty. Anyway, let's get into this. So we got the Alpha Strike box here. So again, all this confirmed. So this is one we can take to the bank now because it's out in the wild. We get 5 Omnimechs as expected, and 8 Inner mechs. Really interesting as well that when the guys from Wolfnet Radio were going through this, I think it kind of hit them at one point that the pilot cards were all not all, I think because they're double-sided, but at least one of every mech for the pilot cards was for the Highlanders, for the for the Inner Sphere powers, the Northwind Highlanders, for the Inner Sphere powers, and for the, I can't remember who it was for the clans. I think it was a Jade Falcon force. I can't remember which one. That's really like cool. I really like that they've done that, and it kind of really kind of pushes that box set into the plus 30-50 era. Also looks like they've got like pilots going into the, well in advance of like the area that I play in, which is the like up until the Fedcom Civil War. I'm absolutely fine with that. They've got to push on their IP, so even though it's not necessarily something that I'd be interested in playing, like a Word of Blake or a Dark Age era game, but it exists. People do play it. People do have a right to have access to stuff like that. So I think that's really good to see as well, because thus far I think everything has really kind of been set between, say, like 30-50 and 30-52 in regards all the stuff that's coming out. Makes sense therefore, and they've to do it as they've done it now. So a lot of these mechs are like later variants of mechs. So that's again just an interesting development. You can see that it's basically set up in what you'd consider a very traditional battle for like clans versus Inner Sphere. You've got the clan star, 5 big heavy hitting mechs, apart from the fire moth obviously, and then you've got 2 lances of Inner Sphere mechs there as well. So let's just go through those then. It's 5 Omnimechs for the clans. It's the Warhawk, the Timberwolf, the Nova, the Pouncer, and the Fire Moth. Really nice like variant of tonnage there. You can see we've got 1 assault, 1 heavy, 2 mediums, and a light. Not much to say about 4. Well, I suppose the Pouncer's new. Great. Interesting. The most important thing here though is for the Warhawk. It's the C variant. I think the C variant is one of the best clan mechs around. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'll just give you some detail here on the minimum use date thing, because I would never ever play like clan versus clan before they invaded the Inner Sphere, because I don't like the clans. My minimum use date for me is always 30-50 for clan mechs. That's not obviously right. Like I think this Warhawk is like I just looked it up actually. I think it's a 2999 mech, so it's like 51 years I think before I've got it listed here. But I would never play, like I don't know, that era clan versus clan in clan space, because I have no interest in it. The clans are the antagonists for me, so I only like to play them when they're in and around the Inner Sphere. The C variant though is an incredible mech. It's got 2 ERPPCs on one arm, and it's got 2 large pulse lasers on the other. Clan large pulse lasers as well, which it's generally seen in BattleTech that the ERPPC and the clan large pulse laser are the best weapons in BattleTech. I certainly don't dispute that in the areas that I play in. I don't think there's anything that's stronger than those. So you've got 2 of each on this mech. Most importantly, though, they come with targeting computers, which is utterly brutal. Like, having a targeting computer on a large clan pulse laser is absolute fire. It's a really quite a broken mech, actually. It's the C variant. It's also because the regular prime variant of the Warhawk just brings 4 ERPPC lasers, which sounds terrifying, but you try and manage that heat when each ERPPC rocks out at 15 heat. You know, you've got 60 heat on an Alpha Strike there, plus it's got an LRM 10 in its top side torso as well. So you've just got to, like, you know, I love the fact they've put this variant in there, but I'm like, oh, that is very, very crunchy, and that Inner Sphere Force is going to have a tough time against that mech, but hey-ho. As for the Inner Sphere Forces, we've got an Atlas, a Warhammer, an Archer, a Wraith, Phoenix Hawk, Blackjack, Wasp, and Locust. Again, another lovely variety of mechs there. 1 Assault, 2 Heavies, 3 Mediums, 2 Lights. A lot of these look like in different poses. The Atlas especially, I think, looks in a different pose. It looks far more like square on. Like the Atlas that you see, I think it's in one of the Total War Rule manual, like the front page of that. I think it looks kind of modelled on one of those Atlases. I love that. I'm not going to sound disappointed with the new sculpt of the Atlas, like the walking variant of it, but it just, I don't know, it just never really popped with me. This one does. I think they've got this this variant. It's just, I think it's the same variant, or it's a very similar variant to the one that they brought out in the last Kickstarter. But this one just looks so much more Atlasy on the battlefield, just from what I've seen on pictures. Nothing to say much about the Warhammer. Again, some of these are in different poses, some of them aren't. The Archer, I love this this variant of the Archer. I love how it looks as well. I believe this is a Karita variant of the Archer. Although in this case, it's kind of been picked up by the Northwind Highlanders force, obviously for the purposes of this game. But I think generally it's something that the Karita use. It's a late mech. That actual minimum date there is actually incorrect. I think it's more around 3050. It's just I've put the original date for the Archer, which is wrong. Might be the same with some of these other mechs as well, actually. In fact, let me remove those just to stop any confusion at this point, because these are all later mechs. Yeah, sorry, the Archer 5R, I think it is a 3050 mech, I think, or in and around that time period. It's got 2 ERL lasers on each arm, and then it's got 2 LRM 15s on the side torsos. So it looks very much like a standard Archer. It's just got the 2 big guns on each arm. The Wraith there, 3055 mech, that is a... I always associate it with the Capellans in the Free Worlds League, the Wraith. So there you go. But again, Northwind Highlanders do have Capellan connection, so that makes sense. Wraith, I really like the Wraith. I think it's a very, very solid mech on tabletop. I've got... I don't think I've got the model. No, I don't have the model anymore, but I've certainly played with it on tabletop when I was younger. I did used to like that mech. I remember that much. Phoenix Hawk there. I think it's just a regular old Phoenix Hawk. We've got the Blackjack 3. This one's interesting. That date's also wrong as well, so let's get rid of that one. This is a... I think, again, this might be a Capellan variant of the Blackjack. I think I'm just going completely from memory here. Presuming it has some kind of like large laser on the arms instead of the AC2s. I like that variant. You got a very similar variant. I think it's the Blackjack 2, which isn't a million miles away from that. You got that in the Wolf's Dragoons box set, so great. And then we've got the Wasp, the WSP3W. That's like basically an S laser, S pulse spam. Again, quite a late mech, so I think that comes in and around the like 3050s as well. And then finally, loads of errors in this Excel. We've got the there we are, got to be perfect. We've got the Locust LCT Mark 3M. This is a really cool variant of the Locust. It's a little bit like, I think the Inner Sphere's like version of the Locust 2C, but it's not anything like as powerful as the Locust 2C, which is the clan mech. The Locust 3M, it's got the 2 S lasers in each, I say arm, but the Locust doesn't really have arms, just the sides, and it's got an M laser in its centre, so quite a solid little mech that, especially for like rear shots if you get up close, can be pretty devastating. Next up, then, we have got the Mercenary box set. Now, I will admit that I had no idea they were going in this direction. I thought the next Kickstarter might have just been how I read it, or it might be that Catalyst's like comms weren't clear. I'm not sure, but I just thought we'd just be getting like box sets. You know, like the Inner Sphere and Clan box sets where you get 4 in a lance and 5 in a star. Turns out that they're actually running the Kickstarter around a specific box. So I'm going to be so interested to see what that entails. Like, is it going to be an expansion on rules? Are we going to get like a rule book in there where you get things like maybe they do some of the extended rules that sit in Total War that are really useful for the game? Things like, you know, like Diffro ammo sets, things like that. Who knows? That could be... Well, that's what I'm actually most interested to see, though, on this one. Now, this kind of lineup here, this is a lot of conjecture in this. What Catalyst had done is they put the box in one of the like display cases that they got, and they put all these like mechs in front of it, and vehicles as well. Makes sense to put vehicles in this box as well, because mercenaries absolutely use like an array of vehicles because they're cheaper and they're not big states that have got vast amounts of finance, so that's a good idea. But let's just talk through this anyway. This is what I think, or what a lot of the community think we're probably getting. First up, we're getting the Devastator, big chunky boy. Looks like a lot wider than the Atlas. Actually, he's an absolute beast, 100-ton mech. We got a Caesar. I think the Caesar is, for me, it's like the upgrade of the Cataphract. In that, like, going into the clan invasion here, it's a really great mech. We got the Ostsol from the Ost series. We got a Quick Draw. We got a Chameleon. I had no idea about the Chameleon. I didn't even have that, like, pinpointed as a mech that they were releasing. I don't know if I just missed that. Don't know much about that mech either. We got the Star Slayer there, which is very much a mech I associate with the Lyrans. It's a funny mech. I've kind of listed it there as its date 2772, but it's a mech that really comes back after the clan invasion. So always just a mech I associate with the Fedcom Civil War, really. Then we got our first vehicles there. We got the Maxim hovercraft. Then we got a Firefly. Love the Firefly. Very solid little light mech. And then we got the Galleon. This is a tracked like tank. It's not the best. It's slightly crunchy, but whatever. Then we got the Flea. Love the Flea. It's a very junky mech. It's kind of like the downgrade from the Locust. It's probably like the most squishy mech in BattleTech, but it's just really fun to run. And the final one there, this is purely conjecture on my part. I think we're going to get 2 squads of infantry battle armor in there, much like they did on the Clan Invasion box set. So I think I heard someone say that as well, but I've not had any confirmation of it. But that would make sense, especially in regards to the Maxim, because the Maxim is basically a troop transport, so it can actually get those infantry, inner sphere standard infantry battle armor, whatever you want to call them, into the battlefield quite quickly. So that's why I kind of think that's happening. What they haven't done, though, they don't have any prototype models of the battle army yet, so that's why we've not seen it yet. But we'll love that if they do it. I think as well they'll just follow exactly the same suit as what they did for the elementals with the clans. They released 2 points of elementals in the clan invasion box, but then separately you could buy 5 or you could buy a full start of elementals in one of the separate boxes. I think they'll do exactly the same here. However, it should be, well, theoretically it should be 4 squads, but I don't know how they're going to do that. They might decide they're going to put 6 in there just to kind of add a little bit more plastic. Who knows? So I'm super excited for that. I think out of everything here, that's going to be amazing. The art they've done for it looks like incredible as well. So really, really looking forward to get that. That is the centerpiece really of the next Kickstarter. So let's get into all the kind of conjecture stuff then. Like I say, some of this is conjecture, some not, because they kind of gave the game away a little bit over GenCon. First up, we got the Inner Sphere Assault Lance. This is, again, 2 placeholders here, so we have no idea what 2 mechs are going to be in this box set. But it looks like we're going to get the Goliath, which is the big old quad, the 80-ton like assault quad, and the hoplite. Again, I'm going to probably rattle through these quite quickly unless there's anything really specific to say. We then got the Inner Sphere Recon Lance. Again, I think that was one of the photos that they got that had the Ostrox and the Assassin in there, and two placeholders. So you kind of assume that's going to be more light. Sorry, this is what. Sorry, I'll start that sentence again. I assume there's going to be one other light mech in there, but I also think we're going to get a bit of a surprise. I think they'll put something a bit odd in there, because I've noticed some of the mechs that they've kind of been publicising look like, and we'll go through that at the bottom because I've got some unassigned mechs, so you might get something a bit wacky in there, but obviously we don't know yet. Next up we go, I'll tell you what I think they might put in there. That it kind of, sorry, I'll take that and buy one off. That's just my notes for what I need to get on the next Kickstarter and what I'm getting. What I'm what I'm thinking on the recon lances, because we've got one listed as heavy recon lance, one listed as recon lance. I might have confused that as well, but I think we'll get the Charger in one of these box sets, which is the big old useless 80-ton mech with the 5 small lasers. It's got to go in there, right? That would make sense. But again, it maybe not, because I think from what I've seen anyway, the heavy recon lance, which we'll move on to now, is the Firestarter, the Spectre, the Javelin, and the Oscout. I must have that wrong, right? That must be the heavy recon lance there. It must be. Yeah. I'm just going to say it is, because I think I've just mixed the terminologies there. And that would make sense then with the Charger, because I think then we will get the Charger into one of these placeholders. Yeah, let's go with that. Why would you call the Innosphere heavy recon lance with the two 35-tonners, of 30-ton and a 20-ton? I think I've just got the boxes mixed up there. So this is a really interesting one. I think this will be a really popular one as well, because the Oscout is a bit of a derpy mech, but popular. The Javelin and the Firestarter are both really solid light mechs, especially the Firestarter. Spectre, I will absolutely just say this, I really don't know anything about that mech. I'm sure I have come across it before, but it's never really kind of come into my orbit in terms of my thought process on force building, or going to buy older models where they have their versions of them. It's just never cropped up, so I'm really interested to get that one. Next up we've got the Innosphere Pursuit Lance, which looks pretty cool. We've got the Dervish, the Clint, the Hermes 2 and the Cicada. That's one of those, that's a bit of a derpy lance, is that. Hermes 2 is pretty solid. The Cicada is a bit of a useless mech, but I like that. That's why I really, really do like the notion of this Kickstarter, because they're filling the the field here with mechs that are, some people will love these mechs for reasons, but generally speaking, from the crunch perspective, most of these mechs are pretty terrible. Like a Cicada is particularly bad, but they are really fun to run, and they're usually in BattleTech. There's the crunch aspect for it, although it does exist and there is a tournament scene. I think I love fielding things like Cicadas. I just find it funny. So I think most people have that mindset as well. So I'll certainly be getting probably a couple of these Pursuit Lances. Next up, we got the Innosphere Security Lance, which is an interesting way they phrased it. I think we definitely got confirmed for the Scorpion and the Jaeger mech, I think I've heard conjecture or rumours that the Vulcan and the Whitworth are also going in there, so take that one with a pinch of salt. This is an interesting one. Again, it's one of those very derpy lances, so not the best, but just fun nevertheless. I mean, Scorpions are pretty terrible, but really fun to play on on tabletop. I've got to say as well, I hate the old metal model. It's almost unusable, I think. It's just, even if you try and pin those legs together on there, it just generally falls apart. So I'm really, really excited to get new plastic versions of the Scorpion, because it is one of those mechs that I just find it so farcical and silly that it's actually quite fun to run. Next up, we've got the 2 clan stars that have been announced. I think this is pretty much confirmed as well. They don't have a name though, so they don't have Heavy Clan Star or something like that. They don't have a proper name yet. In one, we've got the Bane, the Highlander 2C, the Phoenix Hawk 2C, the Rifleman 2C, and the Glass Spider. And then in the second star, we've got the Black Python, the Shadowhawk 2C, the Griffin 2C, the Jenna 2C, and the Locust 2C. I've got to say, I've got really no interest in getting any of these. I mean, if you're a clan player, I can well appreciate the, the cool notion of having your clan upgraded 2C inner sphere model, not for me. I think the only mech in there that I think I'm interested in on any level is the Jenna 2C. I think that's quite a fun little mech. The Locust 2C as well. I actually have a Locust 2C in my mercenary force, but the old metal model. But I actually really like the old metal model, so I'm not particularly that bothered about getting the clan stuff here. I think Catalyst might be finding that as well, that the clan mechs are just not as popular. I'd noted that when you kind of saw what was selling out on the websites, especially on to third party hobby shops, the Inner Sphere stuff just went like so quickly, and there was still quite a lot of like clan stuff knocking around. So that's just an interesting thing. So maybe that's why they've kind of limited what they're doing for the clans now. Another important factor as well is that the clans don't really have as many mechs obviously as the Inner Sphere, because they're smaller powers, although very powerful. Especially kind of they do, obviously, as time goes on. I mean, and I'm talking just from the eras that I play in BattleTech, but generally speaking, like that infusion of technology that comes into the Inner Sphere after 3050, that really kind of causes a cascade of new battle mechs for the Inner Sphere. The clans make new battle mechs as well, but I think they're all pretty much trumped by what the Inner Sphere is doing because, well, I say that. The clans obviously still have much better technology, but it's just, in terms of like innovation and new mechs, like you get all manner of weird and wonderful things, like or like redesigns of old mechs that they kind of reintroduce, things like the Pillager, the Berserker. I think that the innovation from the Inner Sphere at that point is amazing. Whereas clan stuff, again, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's just like if you go in the TROs, it always seems to be like a smaller section than like what the Inner Sphere get. Or at least maybe that's just my bias. Maybe it's just not as interesting to me, so I don't see it. Possibly is the case that. Anyway, moving on, because again, not really much to say about the clan mechs. I've won all second line. There's no Omnis in there. That's, I suppose, one interesting thing. Next up, we got the support, recon, and hunter lance. Oh, sorry, not lance. This is a force. Now, it looks like they're putting duplicates of every vehicle into these packs, which is awesome. So you get 2 of everything. Looks like we're going to be getting 8 models as well. I think that's really nice. You got that like a little bit different with vehicles, obviously, but they still do operate in like lances, I suppose. So it's 2 lances. Recon and Hunter, I think, is a very fun like little force there. You got those 2 Behemoths, 2 Ontosts, 2 Warriors, and 2 Skulkers. The Skulker is such a weird little vehicle. It's a tiny little 22 tonner. I think I've played against it a few times. I think it's got like a rear M laser, so that's it. It's just like a scout vehicle, really. Again, clues in the title: recon and hunter. So the Skulker finds the victims, and then the Behemoth, the Ontos, and the Warrior go and kill them. Next up, we got the support, assault, and cavalry. This is a nice one. This is a Demolisher, Shrek, the Condor, and the Pegasus. That's like that is really, really great especially on the cavalry front. Like, I just love that notion of those 4 hover vehicles there, like, going in and skirmishing almost, or going in for those cavalry attacks. And then the assault mechs, that big Demolisher, big Shrek, 2 of the biggest vehicles in the game. Demolisher obviously famously has 2 AC-20s. The Shrek is a triple PPC carry. It's an absolute monster. So if you can kind of, it's like eating peas, right? Like the hover is there to kind of be the knife, like foisting the peas onto the fork, and then the fork is the Demolisher and the Shrek, ready for your mouth, because that is a hell of a 4 vehicle pack there. What's that? That's 4 AC-20s and 6 PPCs on that assault section there. So that's absolutely brutal. And then we have got support, no name, so this wasn't listed, but it looks like it's going to be the Vedetti, I hope that's how you pronounce it, the Manticore, which the Manticore's a great tracked vehicle. And then we got the SRM carrier and the LRM carrier, which are basically like must-haves for any mercenary force, because they're very squishy, but if you can even get like one lucky shot off with any of those 60 SRMs in the SRM carrier, you will light up your opposition and they will hate you for it. So it's quite an interesting one. And then we've got I've put some unallocated mechs here. These are mechs that either they've been confirmed, but there's like no model. But we've maybe seen it like confirmed on Patreon. If you follow people like Anthony Scroggins, or you've got access to his Patreon, not just him. There are several people who do this. They will post like pictures or sculpts of the mechs that they're designing. So in here we've got again all. I don't think it's all conjecture, but some of it is. But we're looking at here the Shogun, the Grand Crusader, the Charger, the Merlin, the Raijin, and the Nexus Star Python. Again, where these are going to fit in, obviously some of them potential going on the placeholders that we've got up here. Again, I think the Charger will go into that heavy recon lance. The Merlin's an interesting one. The Merlin is a mech that comes around like quite late. I think it's like I know because I own one. I think it's like a 3010 mech or something like that. Oh yeah, there it is. It tells me right in front of me. I'm glad I remembered that. I didn't have to look. And the Merlin is like, I don't know. I think I thought that might have appeared in like one of the Mercenary box sets or something, because the Mercenary box set is. If we look at it like the previous Kickstarters have delivered us all those classic mechs, the Mercenary stuff has now come through, and we're getting some interesting like ladder mechs in there. So I thought we might get, the Merlin. It wouldn't have surprised me if the Merlin had have cropped up in. I think like the Kellhound box set might have been debated to go in there. It is. I don't know why it's a mech that I associate with the Kellhounds. Probably completely wrong to think that, but I think it's in my Kellhound force. I think so that might be the reason why. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what else they put in. Anyway, I'm sure that when they do the Kickstarter, they'll have those like objective goals. So if they pass like a certain threshold, they'll decide they'll create something or do something. So they might have like a couple of extra packs waiting in the wings. Like, if we get £1 million, we'll create a new clan star of mechs from 3060 or something like that. So we'll see what happens, but that's going to be very interesting to see, obviously. Very exciting. I think if I had to guess on this is again no evidence that I've been given for this, but I'll just say it. I think the Kickstarter, I think it will trickle through. I think maybe expect like an announcement on it post GenCon, so maybe over the next 1 to 4 weeks, depending on obviously how quickly they can get their marketing and their comms done when they get out of the conference. But I think at that time they might be like, this is what the force packs are going to look like. And then I think they might not do that if they want to just kind of spring it on a surprise when they announce the Kickstarter. That's likely as well, because obviously Kickstarter very much is a marketing tool, so it makes sense to kind of use it correctly and build the buzz with it. So you might just get it we might get all these announced when they announce the actual Kickstarter itself and when you can sign up for it. But I would guess that we will be able to sign up for the Kickstarter by the end of September. Again, I don't know, but that would be my guess. And I think that will obviously go on for, 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. That'll bring us into October. And then we're obviously going to have the wait. I think on the second Kickstarter, obviously that was delayed by, I can't remember, it was several months at least. Obviously that was during the COVID pandemic, and you had multiple shipping issues. The shipping issues still exist. COVID's obviously, it's not a major problem in the West now. I mean, we've not had any kind of lockdown here now for a long time, but in China, if they have any outbreaks of COVID, it just shuts the entire city down, and that's causing a lot of unrest in their economy. So I would probably say we'll be looking at for at least a year before you get this Kickstarter back. I'd absolutely temper your expectations anyway. Also, another massive factor in this, and I hate to say it, but I think Catalyst might get stung if they're not careful. China are making some pretty aggressive waves at the moment against Taiwan. If that goes the way of Ukraine, it's going to cause a hell of a problem across, well, not just in the localized area. Politically, it's going to be very, very terrifying, is that. But in terms of the economic supply chains, things like that, I can imagine we'll have a situation like we had with Russia, where we literally just pull out of Chinese engagement in economic terms. Now, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, the BattleTech Kickstarter is about as far down the ladder as anyone should care about in that, but obviously this is a BattleTech channel and that's what we're discussing. But I think I'll just say this, I hope they have a contingency plan in place, because I think that could be pretty disastrous for all concerned if there is a situation where literally American companies are no longer allowed to engage with like Chinese industrial units or factories. I just hope Catalyst have pre-planned that. I hope they've kind of maybe gone to speak to some of the in-house lawyer team at Tops just to get some advice. I'd certainly advise they do that if they've got that option, just to kind of say what happens if this goes down. Like for instance, obviously I'm thinking about the community here. If we all spend, I'm planning on spending a lot of money on this Kickstarter, so like, do we get refunded? Do we get will it just be will they say, oh, well, we'll just use a factory in Ohio or whatever, we've got some kind of contingency, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer and it's going to be more expensive, yada yada. I just hope that they've got that kind of in place, and I think as well from the community we've got to be accepting of that, and we've also got to be accepting that if Catalyst do put their prices up now, which is probable, I think we've all got to be okay with that, because thus far we really have got away with a cheap product. When you kind of get in a mech between like $5 and $7 or whatever it is, depending on the box set that you buy, that's pretty phenomenal for the quality that we're getting. So I think if that does go up to like $8-9, it's just something we're going to have to accept in the current economy, the current climate. What's important, obviously, is that we get a product that everyone loves and that Catalyst make enough of a success of it to continue the momentum that the BattleTech community has got behind it at the moment. Anyway, I'll leave that there. I think I kind of covered everything I wanted to cover and had a little bit of a tangent on the global shipping and economic and political crises going along in the world at the moment. So, all interesting stuff. So, yes, I'll leave that here. I'm still planning on doing a video this week, but it might be like next week now. I might do it slightly earlier, just because my weeks at the moment are very skewed towards the back end. So I usually get not so busy at the weekends and Monday, but then as the week goes on, my job just starts to get very, very busy, and I find it difficult to record. So again, you might see some change in that, but I'll still aim for that once a week video at least. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.